Before we go any further, we'd like to take a moment to welcome you to the Emerson and welcome everybody that's joining us from around the globe this evening. It's our unique honor to be able to have all of you with us tonight. We'd also like to take a moment to pause to acknowledge that the Emerson Center for the Arts and Culture occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Absalaga, Crow, the Salish Kootenai, of the Flathead, and the Cheyenne. We honor all of the Indigenous caretakers of these lands, waters, and the elders who lived here before, the Indigenous of today, and the generations to come. We invite all of our non-Indigenous guests this evening to follow the link that we've dropped in the chat for you to acknowledge the lands where you're joining with us tonight. As we start this evening, I want to take a moment to thank the folks that made these shows possible. I'd like to give a special shout out to Dan Simons. Dan is the owner of Wampumware and his studios here at the Emerson. He's also one of the 3 co-founders of the Social Distance Powwow. Early last summer, I reached out to Dan and we started a conversation about different ways that the Emerson could use our platform to better address social justice issues through the arts. Over the course of the discussion, we talked about a lot of current events happening in our country, about COVID, about the murder of George Floyd, and our conversations kept circling back to the crisis of MMIP, and especially here in Montana. These conversations laid the groundwork for our current exhibits. We are still here, and this is our story. This evening, we are joined by 11 female Indigenous artists participating in the exhibits. I'm going to apologize in advance. We have a very small window of time for each artist to speak. But tonight we'll begin our artist discussion with a tour in our lobby gallery featuring the work of Nayana LaFond. And then we will, after the tour, we'll pause to visit with her, and then we'll move on to the exhibit in the Jesse Wilbur Gallery, pausing after each artist to allow them to introduce themselves and share a little bit about their work and how it speaks to the MMIP crisis. You're welcome to leave your comments in the chat for the artists, or if you'd like to pose a question for the question and answer session at the end of the artist talks, you can drop that in the Q&A box located at the bottom of our screen. And again, I'm going to say, please grant us a little grace and latitude as we navigate this virtual platform. It's our first time, and we're grateful to have you. Tamara, I'm going to ask you to go back on Nayana's show, if possible, please, so we can start from the beginning. This is Portraits in Red by Nayana LaFond. Nayana, thank you. Thanks for sharing your work with us, and it's such a privilege to have you here. The Emerson's known for showing the works of local and regional artists, and so it's a treat for us to bring your work in from Boston. So thank you. And would you like to tell folks a little bit about yourself and about this collection in your work?
Absolutely. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't certain. My name is Nayana LaFond. My family is from Wikwemikong, unceded territory in Northern Ontario. I'm Anishinaabe. I'm also Abenaki and Mi'kmaq from Three Rivers, Quebec. I'm also French and German. This work started as a way for me to process my own feelings and emotions behind MMIWG and MMIP, of course. Um, I have my own history with domestic violence, and it's become an intergenerational thing that's passed down. And over time, I've spent a lot of time reflecting on it. So it started with one portrait that I was on social distance powwow, which you mentioned before, and saw someone sharing their images. Actually, Lorena, who is second from the bottom left in, was the first portrait that I did. And the response to that was so overwhelming. People were messaging me and asking me to paint them. So I put out a message on social distance powwow when asked, and I got over 25 in the first day. As of today, I'm up to 37, which is this one right here. And I have at least 20 more in my queue. I don't know if you can hear me because my screen just went out.
We can still hear you now.
Okay, good. Then I'm not going to worry about my screen. So I've got 20 more in my queue, but I'm receiving more daily. It's turned into kind of a mission for me. I couldn't pick and choose who to paint from the people who sent them. It felt wrong to say, well, I'll paint you, but not you. Especially with the stories that were coming in. A lot of the people are survivors themselves, or they're missing a loved one or are mourning a loved one. And the more came in, the more I realized this is kind of turned into a mission for me. My goal now is to just show them as many places as possible, which is why I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to show with such a wonderful group of other female artists talking about the same subject. So that's what this body is really directly, this body of work is really directly about, and where it comes from is a deep intergenerational emotional trauma that I was trying to work out, and that I'm hoping through the work I can work out in myself and help others heal a little bit as well.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And I'm excited to see where the works can travel.
Me as well.
Thank you. Please stick with us for the rest of the evening, Yana.
Yes, you'll have to mute me because my screen has gone out and I can't see anything.
We're happy to do that. Until then, because we're working out this this IT thing, you might just have to shh for a second. Thank you. And the next slide, please. We Are Still Here, and This Is Our Story was co-curated with our education curator, Alyssa Cost, in-house, who will be with us for another week before she starts on her next adventure with the Montana Art Galleries and Directors Association. But this show was made possible by these 5 women working so closely with us, and we appreciate you, Susan Stewart, Della Big Hair Stump, Carie Moran McCleary, Grace Bulltail, and Olivia Rose Williamson. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for your time, and thanks for sharing so generously with us. And let's move on into the exhibit. The first works are by Carie. Hi, Carie.
Bonjour.
Thank you so much. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that's in the show and what it meant for you to be a part of it?
I'm looking forward to it. So the first thing that you see on the screen is my shawl, which was actually not an original plan for the show. But when we were in the gallery, sort of when we brought our stuff to the Emerson, I just felt like I could see like all of this camaraderie between all these women, even the women that weren't there dropping off their items. And I just felt like such a bond with them immediately. And on the way home, I just started thinking about that. And I thought, we need one thing to sort of tie us all together. So I contacted Susan and Alyssa, and they graciously agreed to let me add one more item to the show. So the teepees on this shawl are in a red calico and red wool, and they represent, I would like to say the calico came from my mommy. It was a cool gift of hers. It meant a lot to me to use it. They represent the 8 reservation Indigenous communities within our state. And one thing I neglected when I did think about it, I'm coming to you from the Absalaga Reservation. I've lived here for 30 years. I'm Little Shell Chippewa, and so my tribe is from Great Falls. And our community is obviously an urban community, and there are other urban communities with a large number of Native people within our state. So realize that even if you live in Bozeman or Billings or Missoula or Shoto or Great Falls, Lewistown, I mean, you name it, there's a large group of Natives. They probably all know each other, and they're trying to support each other, looking for support from their neighbors, friends and neighbors. So just keep that in mind as we go forward. Also, the shawl has ribbons on it with freehand machine embroidery, and they have words on there that I hope people will read and think about how they reflect the MMIP issue that we're trying to bring forward. So they say, mother, brother, father, sister. They have dates that are relevant to us. They have names of bills that have been passed in regards to the situation. The center 2 ribbons with the button there, I can't remember if that one's an elkhorn or an abalone. There's a variety on there. It's kind of a mixed media. They say we are still here, which is something that is really a center point of all of my work. And then the dress that I did, it has the teepees. I was having this lodge moment thinking about how the lodge is our home. We take care of her and she takes care of us. So the 3 lodges represent myself, my daughter, and the future generations, which, my daughter is obviously the next step, her children. So there's a beaded belt that has really traditional designs for my tribe, things that I bead quite a bit. And it was really cathartic when I was beading. I kept thinking about the families and praying for them, and for justice, for peace, for comfort. But the sad part was that while I was beading it, we had more deaths, we had more girls come missing, we had a transgender individual killed, and so it gave it more meaning in a way for me to just realize it's an issue. It's ongoing.
Thank you, Carie. Thank you so much. Okay, let's move on to Della. Hi, Della.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
I can. Thank you so much. I want to give a big shout out. I should have said it when Carie was on too, about for you guys to mention that you are in Vogue this month as well, and that Della's works are currently in the Smithsonian. So it's just amazing. Della, tell us a little bit about you and your work that's in the show.
Daji, Salisha Jahak Kawat charges should be Willigo should be a shit bagarik. Upsalugesh Pogagawak. Hello, my name is Della Stump. I'm the owner, designer, artist of my own company, designs by Della, and I am honored to be a part of this exhibit. As you can see, my ribbon dress that is posted right now, it has all, I found at Joanna's Fabric, and it has all the states, the cities, I mean, I should say, of Montana. There's Billings, Great Falls. So I wanted to do a piece that represents where I'm from, Montana, and this was perfect. So I purchased it. I put the red ribbons. There's 4 red ribbons representing the 4 directions, and the little girls at the bottom representing sisterhood. This is MMIW exhibit, and I wanted to represent that in some way of incorporating with the state of Montana, the cities. And the t-shirt is an image that I did, and with also the mask. You can purchase the mask on my website, and the proceeds from that mask goes to MMIW organization. And the blazer itself representing red, and I put my design on it to represent, the business lady of today, modesty, and this is something that I would wear. My work, I always try to, if I like it, if I wear it, then I would make it. And yeah. And my other dress, is there an image for that one?
Yeah. Tamara, can you go back one?
Yeah. And this dress is representing the MMIW. I show this when I have fashion shows wherever I go, because I do spread awareness in the shows that I do. This dress represents my county in Montana. It's called Bighorn County. It's part of my reservation, the Crow Reservation. And the feathers at the time, we had 28 MMIWs. And I need to add more to that dress, because as of 2021, I might have to add more. This was made in 2019. And there's 2 images, the faces of ladies, and the black sequence represents our long black hair, indigenous hair. And I wanted to make a dress representing modernizing the dress of today. And thank you for doing this for all of us. And my dresses represent the state of Montana and where we come from. And we're all affected by family members going missing. I had an uncle gone missing in 1990s, and he was missing for 2 years, and he was found 2 years later, and he was just a mile from his home. We don't know what happened. And so that affected my family, and we were always quiet about it. But as in today one, there's still people going missing, people's lives taken too early. And I feel like as an artist, we are the story. We are the ones telling their story. They're not here, so we want to keep their name alive. And so I feel that as using my platform as an artist, as a designer, to keep their names alive and to keep their stories alive. And for the ones that are still waiting to be found, we're still waiting for the ones to come home. And my work represents that. Oh.
Thank you, Della. Let's gonna move forward, and I understand that Rose hasn't been able to join with us yet, but we'd like to show her work at this time. And hopefully if she's able to join us by the time we reach the end, we'll give her a chance. We'll back up and show her her work. I did want to point out as we're going through that this is the first time that she's exhibited her painting. And she has 2 large paintings in this exhibit. The first one that you just saw actually is her brother. And this, there you go. Thank you, Tamara. And the next painting is Selena Not Afraid. And Rose told me that she painted this painting of Selena because she found the picture of her wearing a piece of the jewelry that she had made, which is just a lovely connection. And then there's one more collection, small red dresses. These are on small canvases with gold leaf and 6 red dresses. And hopefully Rose will be able to join us by the end and tell us more about her work. Let's move on to Salisha. Hello, you'll need to unmute.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much. It's great to see your face tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about you and about your piece that's in the show?
Yeah, so I'm Salisha Oldbull. I'm Salish and Crow, and just would like to express my thanks to everybody who put this together, and I was very honored to be invited, and also very honored to be able to help spread awareness for the MMIP issue. So the work that I did, a lot of the art that I do, I'm really inspired by our connection as Indigenous people to the land. I feel like the land, it doesn't matter if you're Indigenous or not, but that connection really gives you a sense of place, and it really grounds you as a person, as a human being. And that idea of humanizing is something that really resonated with me. And so I know when the title "We Are Still Here," that concept was something that really inspired me when thinking of people that are going missing. You know, before colonizers, there were pictographs that documented a lot of our presence here on the land, and they also served as a sense of, I wouldn't say land acknowledgement, but they were landmarkers, and they showed areas of sometimes very spiritual places, and sometimes those handprints signified something that went back to an oral tradition that might predate a tribe being in an area. So tribes really revere those places. And I just thought that it was interesting how that same hand is a symbol to bring awareness to MMIW. So that's kind of how I created this painting, is with those thoughts in mind, and just the whole thing that you started with the land acknowledgement. That's a very trending idea right now, to be able to state that, and to be able to have people hear that Indigenous peoples, this is where we inhabited this land for a very long time. So those were things that really kind of go behind this work in particular. It's that color also is a pretty powerful color. And I think in the MMIW issue, I think the best thing that people can do is to continue to educate themselves and to continue to understand the symbolisms that go along with the issue, and to continue to bring awareness in that way. And also to, I feel like with this pandemic, some of the things that we used to really hold steadfast to, like limiting our time with technology, has really gone out the door. But understanding that we can still take precautions, and teaching our children that it's important to continue to do the things that we were once taught as kids, like not to interact with strangers. I feel like those are first steps. And I know that bringing awareness to this issue is a really big deal. It really hits me hard. I'm an emotional person. And so I just want to say that I'm honored. I'm honored to be able to do this. And I feel like this is something that is super important, and it's a very sensitive thing that we deal with as Native people in this country. So thank you.
Thank you. The honor is ours to show your work. And am I correct? Is this one of your first exhibits?
Yes, this is my first time.
That's one of the things that makes me happiest about what we're able to do here at the Emerson is when we're able to build exhibits around emerging artists like yourself and a few others in the show, alongside folks like Susan and Nayana and Carie, Della, that are more established. So thank you. Thank you for trusting us to hang your work.
Thank you, guys.
Let's go on to Wozek. Hey, Wozek, how are you?
Good. Nahana Niset Wozek, Nanana Aani, Nitan Sinanahu. Hello, everyone. My name is Wozek Chandler. I am Grovant from Fort Belknap. And I've been doing beadwork since the 3rd grade. And mostly I just do like accessories, jewelry. But this is my first show and this is my first time, trying something new with my beadwork. And I wanted to do something that represents those who are missing, who are still missing, and those who have been murdered, but also those whose families have been affected by this. So the feathers represent each families. And then as you see, the mixed beads come in, and this represents what they might go through. All of a sudden, one of their loved ones is taken from them, and they're left with all these questions that they may never get answers to. And so that's also why the frame is placed crooked, because, just to symbolize that change and that shift in their life. And I wanted to do something that also represented the family's strength that they find during these times. And so the squares that are moving along the frame represent their efforts and their strength and their prayers. And the white dots in the middle represent those who are still missing, and the red represent those who have been murdered. And kind of going back to the title of my piece, Unfinished Disorder, the individuals who are missing and murdered didn't get to finish their lives. And so I feel like that's something that's important. And they're kind of moving along on the middle, like trying to get out. And so I feel like through events like this, that we can hopefully change the narrative and bring more awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous people. And so, thank you for listening to me. And I think that's all I have about my piece.
Thank you, Wozek. And before we go on, just because when your dad came in with you to see the show, he was so proud of you, and it was just lovely. He just beamed with joy for you, and he shared the story that I think other folks will enjoy. I know it warmed my heart. Was that when you were a baby, he had his first show here in the Emerson, and now here you are, a beautiful young woman, and you have your piece in the first show here at the Emerson. And I love those connections.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's look at Monica's work. Hey, Monica, you'll need to unmute.
There we go.
There, perfect. Monica, welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about you and your work that's in the show?
Yeah. So my name is Monica Gilles-Brings Yellow, and I am originally from Great Falls, Montana, but try not to hold that against me. I consider my home now Missoula and the Flathead Reservation. So originally I was asked to submit a piece, and I really wanted to participate in this exhibition to bring awareness and to tell a story, but I wasn't sure how I could do that without causing more trauma to something that was already traumatic, because my family has their own missing and murdered Indigenous woman And that's what this painting is about. So I reached out to my family. I asked my mother-in-law, I asked some of the aunties if this was okay. And the response I got back was very positive, and it was more along the lines of, you absolutely have to do this. We're not giving you the option to not do this because you need to tell the story, because people still are fairly unaware of Indigenous issues, and this issue in particular, even in Montana, where it's one of the main problems that we see. So in the painting is Susan Irvin and her mom, Wiskin. And Susan is the Yaya, she's the grandmother, she's the great grandmother of my husband. So Susan, she was relatively healthy, and she's the little girl in the painting with the red hand on her face. And she was healthy, she was fine, and she was only 44 years old, and she was found dead outside a building in Arlee, and she was covered in bruises. When the family said she's only 44 years old, you know, she didn't have any sort of health conditions, can we please investigate this? The response that was given back to the family was basically, well, she rode horses a lot. She was a jockey, so she probably like got injured at that time, and that's, you know, that's why she's covered in bruises. So a very suspicious death. Even when the family applied pressure to the authorities in charge, the response that we were given, I guess they were given, I wasn't around then, was, you know, it's a natural death, basically. And so it was never fully investigated. There wasn't an autopsy done, and everybody just kind of moved on. And that's something that we find a lot in Indian country, where deaths are investigated. People say that things are happening for natural causes like hypothermia, but there's no explanation for why the hypothermia occurred. So I wanted to make a painting that honored her, and also brought to light the issue that we have with missing and murdered Indigenous women. I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much. It's and this is one of all of the pieces you really need to see in person, but this piece really takes on a whole new life when you see it in person.
Yeah, I do my paintings kind of in this style that's like a 3D. It's 3D. It involves resin, and so there's shadows that go through the painting, and it paints different shadows underneath. And I paint gold over the top. I'm kind of obsessed with gold.
It's got
and red.
a beautiful depth to it when you see it in person. Monica, thank you for sharing with us.
Thanks.
Let's move to Rebekah. Hey, Rebekah, hello. You'll need to unmute.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can. It's great to see you.
Hello, it's good to see everybody too. Tansigia. My name is Carie Sweetgrass Woman. I'm Chippewa Cree, and I come from Rocky Boy, Montana. I have a 15-year-old son named Royce Jarvey, and I'm a mixed media artist, but my specialty is sewing and beading and fashion design. And since we, just came out of 2020, and everybody will remember that year and what it stood for. And this piece was the most hardest piece I ever created, because of, what it represents, the pandemic, and also the MMIW. And so I had to, I don't know how many times I had to stop and smudge because of the emotions and thinking of the families. And I choose to make the mask because I wanted to include my son, and also that's what I became known as a mask maker. And so that's why I choose to make a mask. And everything I do, I always include my son, and my son's specialty is beaded ropes and those are hanging off the side. And we have I have the horsehair on there because in the Cree way, the horse is a powerful spirit that stomps away negativity. And I wanted to add neons to the tulip, to the flower in the center, just to signify like hope and bright in the future. And also to the little design in each finger, that was my great grandma's design. I'm fourth generation beater and sewer, and my great grandma taught my grandma, and my grandma taught my mom, and my mom taught me, and I'm teaching my son. And so just to remember my grandma's strength and power, I used her design in each of the fingers. And the brass represents to when we dance or everything we do, the way I was taught is that you have reflectors like such as mirrors or brass to steer away the negative energy or anything that is negative, and that's why I have the brass on there. I want to say thank you to Alyssa and Susan for putting on this piece and giving us this platform to spread awareness on this sensitive subject. And it's really emotional. And I was talking with some of the ladies the other day and, you know, talking about the pieces, and I wasn't sure if we were able to go there and smudge, or, you know, just because it's such a hard, sensitive topic. And I know in most tribes we use the smudge. And so I have my sweetgrass right here, right next to me, and it's my namesake. And so I just wanted to smudge and sing a little verse of my family song that was carried in my family, and take this time to pray and think of all those ones that went missing and all those ones that we lost, and for those families. And just bear with me for a second. So I want to thank all of you guys for honoring us and having us display our pieces. And I pray for, you know, all the families that are affected. And I too, you know, have a loved one out there somewhere. And this needs to, you know, this, I hope and I pray in the future that, you know, we won't have this, that we will be celebrating something else. And I want to say thank you, Aho.
Thank you. Thank you. Rebekah, I treasure that when you came down, it was in the dark and you pulled up in the big truck, and I just knew for some reason that I needed to circle back and visit with you. So thank you. Thank you for the long drive to share this piece with us. And it's one of the privileges that we have when we install a show is we get to touch. And feeling this work in my hands it's amazing, and it has weight, and you can tell that it has a lot of you in it. So thank you for sharing that with us. Let's go ahead and look at the work of Cedar Bulltail and Grace Bulltail. And Tamara, I'm hopeful that you can bring both ladies on together. Hi, Grace. And is Cedar with us too?
Hi.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent.
But-
I have a limited view, so forgive me
So
for being
that's
clumsy.
okay. I'll just go ahead and turn off my video.
You're fine. Cedar
Okay.
Springs, I know you guys worked on the piece collaboratively, so if you could tell us a little bit of about you and about the piece that you've put in the show.
Yeah, we can share our time. And thank you for that. I was thinking that I really appreciate honoring taking the time to say some words and prayers for the exhibit. I think that is really in the spirit of what we needed. So Cedar and I worked on this piece for our daughter Carie. She's the sister between us. Cedar's the oldest and I'm the youngest. Her daughter, and really she's all of our daughters in the family. Carie just turned 18 and she went missing in August 2019. And she was supposed to be a senior in high school. And can you show the next image? Maybe Cedar can come back to her piece. So she was supposed to attend high school in Missoula at Hellgate High. And so the year and a half, it's coming up on another 6 months in February that she's been missing since she went missing. And I had ordered graduation regalia for her last year. I didn't know what I was going to do with it, but I don't know. It was just in my intention to have that for her, because Cedar was talking about her own children who are the same age graduating. So I went through all the fabric that I have. I generally buy fabric for dresses for the girls. And I found this because I had bought it several years ago, and I wanted to use it to make regalia for Carie and her little sister. So I use this as the base. It's in the fashion of a Sundance dress. Another one of our sisters, Misty Frost, sent me her dress to use as a pattern, and I just decorated it with ribbons. And another thing about my work is that I hardly ever use red. If anything, maybe in an accent, but all of my dresses are usually like blues or green. And yeah, so I felt that that was a nice contrast to the rest of the red gown. And again, we weren't able to ever see Carie once she was found, and we weren't able to put anything on her body, which usually is a last rite. So I had a lot of emotions putting this together, but I haven't really been able to do any other art projects, or I haven't taken out my beadwork since then. But it's been a start. And I also wanted to mention that we have a petition on change.org, and we can share that, and also let Cedar talk about her work.
Thank you.
No, you were doing good for Gracie. You were explaining everything.
Great.
Okay, so going back to the hat here, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so that there is the justice for Carie. as my sister Grace was explaining. And there is the MMIP. Okay, I'm getting used to this. And the MMIW, since Sarah had just turned of age to be considered the adult with women. And we have a collaboration with my daughter's pieces because they were both the same age. And just as Gracie had explained, we had it was 2 graduations that we should have been celebrating. And even just that hat alone, it has it's got its own little stories of traveling all the way to Puerto Rico before making back to Montana and being sent from Wisconsin. And I was explaining the tracking when I finally came in on my messages to my daughter Aspen, and because she's got pieces there with that helped fill in not being able to she had or the cap is half beaded, it was her life was just starting. And so we got to share some pieces with Aspen with their the strawberry, the cult. I looked at cultures of the strawberries, stories, their nations, and I found that fitting for. And then in the middle there was the pastels that reminded me of when Sarah and Aspen were just young, just before their teenage years, because you can see the process of work when you're beading and the learning experiences you're going along. And the tulip there, I have them all outlined. That there was I really love the tulip there because of the yellow stands out with our clan, with our greasy mouth. Aside from Sarah's favorite colors, they're the yellow and blue. So yeah, she was just budding for in life. And then all of my graduation caps that I have the honor to bead, I use my leftovers, to fill in the daisy chains. It doesn't matter if it's a man or a girl's cap. I like to add, some color to their lives along their brim there, along with that the little war bonnet there. Everybody's, with everybody's accomplishments these days are different from the standards that were back in our traditional ways. And it's changing, and accomplishments that we can see now is through graduations and our educations for our youth and our upcoming generations. And so they've all worn their war bonnet. So I expected to bead Sarah's graduation cap, and even though it came out in this process, I got to still at least finish, doing what I had hoped for in the beginning of senior years for our children. So that's my story on the piece, and it did help. My hands, it took a lot of energy to bead, because I have put off a lot of other projects that, because we're our grieving process, it does take our energy. So that's my story of this. And then I have it written down for your guys' museum so that can be shown too.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's a tremendous privilege for you to share your stories, and I have no words. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go on to the last works of the evening. There we go. Hello, Susan. Unmute.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, Susan.
Hello. Where we starting now? Anywhere? Yeah. Okay. First, I want to say thank you to Susan and Alyssa for the opportunity to be a part of the show. And as I said, my name is Susan Stewart. And I have been in the art world for probably, I just sitting here thinking, and I said, gosh, it's been almost coming up on 50 years that I've been showing. And a lot of the artwork that I have done throughout my lifetime has been for social change, either through performance and installation works in the 90s. In any case, my work has evolved over the time. And a lot of this has impacted me because I am related to Cassera. I would be considered her grandmother. And before the tragedy of our loss with Cassera, I would get calls from a lot of young girls. And as a Kala, grandmother, I was always trying to help out in any way I could. They need gas money, they need a hotel, or they need help with something. And a lot of times these girls are at risk. And it really frightened me, because knowing that they would be out there and, you know, doing things and needing help sometimes, and not, you know, and so they'd call me and I would give them money or send money or whatever. And I would be doing this. And so I came up with the idea to create this organization or society, I call it, Fierce Women Warrior Society. And the whole point was to empower young women and to deal with this whole effort and this situation of the missing and murdered Indigenous girls, women, and people, especially the girls and the women, to empower them and mentor them and to learn how to be mindful in this 21st century. And so I came up with the society, and I started putting on workshops that were women and girls, you know, like prevention to protect themselves. You know, we had a karate instructor come in, and we did this workshop and showing how girls to, you know, how to defend themselves. And we gave out stun guns and pepper spray and all that, you know. And it was something that, you know, I was working on, and then we had the tragedy hit with Cassera. And so then at that point, my work has always been around my own emotional kind of expression, these pieces especially. And this piece here in Kala's Tears, it kind of reflects about how we as women, and we are the backbone of our families, and we're left with this when we're hit with a tragedy like that, you know, we hold a lot of that. And this piece in particular is a picture of my grandmother. It was inspired by my grandmother. This is her, my grandmother, and now I am a Kala. And this is the way in which we hold, you know, our families up. And we cry in silence sometimes. We cry in our rooms because we have to be so strong. And this was how this one was inspired. And so that's that one, how we hold our tears. And the other piece, Star Woman, this is and this honors the sisters. My sister, who was Cassera's grandmother, she was the oldest in our family, the oldest woman, was sister, and these are her sisters, Star Woman sisters. And this was to honor her, because I was very close to her, even though I was the youngest and of the girls, and I would go to her for all kinds of advice, and when I was younger and such. And she held strong, and she was always advising, and she was a big part of my family and a big part of my life. So I was trying to honor her in this particular piece, to honor the strength of the sisters, and how we endure and how we carry on, you know, after those that are lost. Another thing I wanted to point out was I wanted to thank all the women that are involved in this exhibit, because we have taken it something that is so tragic to us, that is so painful to us as women, and we have created this beauty. These pieces are absolutely beautiful, and we have taken something so painful, and we have created this very beautiful exhibit in a way. And it's an exhibit in which we can educate those, and it's important. It's a very, very important situation that we're faced with, and we have always in the past been ignored by the justice system. We've been ignored by the law, and just brushing us away as if we don't matter. We matter. We matter to ourselves. We matter to our family. We matter to our community. And because of that, I started the Fierce Women Warriors, because I wanted to put this out there in order for us to gain the support, to support each other, to be there to support our family, to support our communities. So this is basically, this piece here is reflective of that, is how we support each other. And I want to say thank you to all the ladies that are involved. Your work is absolutely beautiful, all of it.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
I think what you said there kind of touched on at the beginning when we started talking about the exhibit as a group, and we were talking about how to reach out and how to share this story. All of you were adamant and powerful in saying this needs to be told from a woman's point of view, and I think that comes through so strong in this exhibit. It's really has a force when you step into the room.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Before we move on to Q&A, I see that Rose has been able to join us, and then we'll come back and we'll let everybody ask if they have any questions. And I hope folks are taking a chance to read the comments. We're sharing lots of links there. Tamara, I'm going to let you move back to Rose's artwork. Hi, Rose. You need to unmute.
Hello.
Hey. Welcome, finally. Good to see you.
Yep.
Give us just a second. We're going to move. There we go. I think, is that the first slide or the last? First. So let's take a gander through and see Rose's work. You have the dress. And I apologize, Rose, I spoke a little bit about your work before we could get you on, just in case you couldn't get in, but I want you to please share your story about the pieces. If you want to tell us a little bit about you and about the work that you've included in the show.
Hello, I'm Rose Williamson. I'm a Psaluka from the Crow Nation in Southeast Montana. This little work here that you see of the little dresses, the top represent my tribe, the elk tooth dress, and the middle one is the Lakota style, and Cheyennes also wear that style with the dentilliums. And then the bottom would be other nations with just ribbon dresses. All of them are made with trade cloth. On top is imitation elk teeth, mini size. And then the middle, I found the smallest dentilliums to use as a cape. And the back is, the background of each piece is a leaf, gold leaf. I came across that and I wanted to try to work with it. And so that's how I made those 6 little items there. And just to represent all the different nations of women who wear red dresses. We can go to the next piece.
Here we go.
So last year, this young girl here, Selena Not Afraid, she went missing, and picture of her wearing one of my beaded pieces. You see that necklace there? I made that necklace, and it also comes with matching earrings. She was wearing them, but you couldn't tell looking at it. So I recreated the picture, and she also is wearing a Designs by Della dress. So this girl went missing New Year's Day of 2020. And for about a good 4 weeks, everybody in my community was searching for her. And they found her over by the rest area between Crow Agency and Billings. It was real painful. Even now, every time I drive to Billings, I think of her. And I felt like this was probably, I mean, this was the best that I could do, make the image look like her. We could go to the next piece.
Do you want to see the dress, Rose, or this painting?
This painting here, this is of my little brother, of Williamson. He's been missing since April 9th of 2019. It's really hard to believe that it's going to be 2 years that my little brother has been missing. And my little brother is a cowboy. When we were little, my dad was always involved in rodeo and was too busy to babysit. So when he was just a little tyke, my dad used to throw him on a horse and hit the horse's butt, and the horse would take off with my little brother on it. And my little brother became a very good horseman. So I come from a family of cowboys and rodeo people, and I wanted to paint an image of my little brother wearing a cowboy hat. And this is the picture that I found of him. So he was a fearless young man, my little brother. And the fact that he's still missing, I just wanted to do the best I could to represent him. And we're still looking for him. We get search dogs. We never got helicopters. We didn't get the police to help us look for him. It was all based on the community, and we had to rely on the kindness of the hearts of the people in our community to come together and search for him. There was people searching in our mountains for him, and there's people searching in the hills over by Billings for him, and we were searching, family members were searching by boat along the Little Bighorn River, all the way from Benteen all the way almost to Hardin. And I myself had a hard time trying to look for him. I didn't want to find him not looking like he's supposed to. So I chipped in money for gas money for the searchers. I would buy food so the searchers would have food to eat. It's a really hard, long process trying to search for your loved ones when nobody's there to, there's no help at all. I mean, when this first was, I was asking around, is there some kind of a little checklist that we should have for these people? Is there some kind of checklist we need to mark off our list that we know what we did our absolute best in finding our loved one? But there's none. There's nothing like that. And you're blindly looking. And I never, ever thought that missing and murdered would affect my own family. And now it has. And before all of this started with my family, I was very for supporting the missing and murdered. And when it happened to my own family, I just wanted to step away from it. It's hard, but you can't. Once it comes into your home, I mean, family's home, to people you care about. So I'm real thankful to be invited to be a part of this. And when I got invited to be an artist of this exhibition, I could not do it without including my little brother. So that's his piece there. We could go to the next slide. But yeah.
This is your last piece that's up, Rose?
Yeah, so I got to do a dress along with Carie and Della. And I just made a simple tank top dress. It's velvet with red ribbons at the bottom and red seashells. And I just kind of made it simple. I just tried to imagine what a girl who is now missing, if she wasn't missing, what if she was right here and I was on her, what would it look like? And this is what I came up with. The belt is a concho style belt. It's made of rawhide. The edges are beaded in red beads, glass beads. The paint is acrylic, and that's the type of floral pattern that I myself use. I made a matching medallion, and there's also another necklace medallion, which is a contemporary style Altis necklace. So those are all the pieces that I put into this exhibition, and I'm very thankful that I got to be included in this. Thankful to Alyssa for putting this on, and also to the donors who also were involved in this and helped us get this on the road, to allow us to be the voice for the other natives who are still looking, because there's many in my state. On every reservation there's a family right now who is looking for their loved one, and there's too many to name. I thought about it, but there's a lot of people, and if more can be done to help us, I really appreciate it, because it's a pain you don't ever want to feel, ever. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy to have a family member be missing. And I myself really hope, like, somehow I hope my brother will come back anyway. I mean, I hope he's safe. I hope he comes back. But those are all my pieces that I submitted. I hope you guys enjoyed them.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to speak for just a minute and just want to say thank you. Thank you to all of you artists for sharing your work with us and sharing your stories. At the beginning of this, I will admit I was afraid of whether or not we would be able to bring everything together. And I was afraid of not being respectful. And you all have done such a beautiful job of guiding us in bringing this exhibit together. And it couldn't be done without you. And I think one of the things that's humbling in listening to this, and when people come in to see the show now, people are asking, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? And it's a really, I think out of anything that we hoped for was to raise the voice for the families that are hurting, and moreover to raise the voice for folks that have been murdered or missing. And as many times as this exhibit has been shared and people have joined us tonight from around the planet, you've done a good job in raising the voice together. So thank you for that. Tamara, can we go to a group and bring the whole panel in, please? Might take a minute to do this. We have the opportunity for folks to ask questions of the artists about individual pieces, and you can do that in the Q&A right now. And then as the ladies are all coming in, some of you I've had the chance to visit with, and some of you I haven't, so be surprised, don't. But one of the exciting things to come out of this is we've been approached to make this a traveling exhibit. And so as we do this and as we wrap up the exhibit, I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation in what it will take to share this work, not just across Montana, but across the country. And as we start the process now, we have folks actually from coast to coast that are interested in the work. And that speaks to the passion that you all shared your stories with. and the trust that you put into it. So thank you for that, and for being willing to share things that it's not easy to talk about. And I appreciate you. Thank you. Alyssa, do we have any questions? We'll give folks a minute. I just want to say too that, you know, we did good. I was worried about everybody's time limits. We did really good. So
Yeah.
thanks everybody. I'm not.
We have.
Go ahead, Alyssa.
There's one question here. Well, a couple people have asked if we're sharing this recorded presentation, and we absolutely will. We will post this recording onto our website and our social media platforms in a couple of days. So just check back there, and you'll be able to share this with others who weren't able to be present this evening. The first other question I received here, and I don't know who wants to field this one. It's kind of obscure. What is the future of Indigenous art? Is a question I have here from Shandon Pete. Thank you. Does anyone want to speak to where they see Indigenous art going in the future?
Well, I've been around for a while, and it seems to me that the contemporary movement and the young work that is out there is pretty amazing across the board. You're seeing more and more artists. You're seeing more young artists looking. I just look towards even just in the film and TV. You know, we're seeing more film and more TV shows and such, and our young people are getting more involved. I mean, we didn't have any, you know, back when I was young, we didn't have the fashion that we have today. It's just astounding the kind of work that's coming up. So I think that there is a lot of vibrancy in Indigenous art right now, and the Native artists across the nation. It's just, it's growing by leaps and bounds in the contemporary field, I think, from a historical point of view, looking back to when I was 18, when I started showing.
Anyone else have anything to add to that?
As a Native fashion designer, growing up, probably, let's see, as a teen, you know, growing up, I wanted something to express where I was coming from. You know, I'm a Salugam Crow, and we didn't have that back then. So as of 2020, and as of the shows, and as a Native fashion designer, a lot of that is getting popular. I mean, all these high-end fashion designers are copying our style, our Indigenous work. And you've probably seen with Bethany, and, you know, there's, you know, you can see that as an Indigenous, we are having an impact in that fashion world, and we are expressing who we are, and people all over the world are interested in that. And I'm thankful to be a part of this, and a lot of the Native fashion designers are coming out. Everyone's, you know, culture is so beautiful. I love it, and we'll be here for a long time. We are still here.
Thank you, Della. The next question I have here in the Q&A is my t-shirt here. I think Rose has it on too. Someone is interested in purchasing this t-shirt, which Della created. Della, would you like to tell them if and where they can purchase your t-shirt design?
I'll be posting that pretty soon on my website. Anything with the MMIW, MMIP, all the proceeds will be going to an organization. I have the mass available right now, but I will keep watch on my website. I will be posting more. Thank you.
And please check the chat. Throughout the evening, I shared all of the artists' websites, Instagram, Facebook pages. Please visit those pages and support these women. purchase their work, we absolutely encourage you to do that. So go back to the chat and check that out if you are interested. Next question. All of the artists, has this opportunity inspired you to create more artwork that's specific to this particular topic? Anyone want to speak to that? Yeah, just go right ahead.
Well, go ahead.
Salisha?
Yeah, I guess one thing I wanted to say was that something that really affected me in all of this was that I tend to avoid things that would make me just completely fall to pieces. And the MMIW issues are those like Olivia said, you know, we all have family that have been affected by this. You know, I have a sister-in-law that was murdered, and I have I believe she would be a niece that's currently missing. And every day on my way to work, there's billboards of a girl's face, Jermaine Charlo, who is missing in our where I live. And so it's there all the time, and it's hard to really think really about it without getting emotional. And so I know when I did this, that was really hard for me to do something very direct. And since then, you know, getting ready for this day, and then also just getting ready to create something that had to be inspired by that, I started thinking about forcing myself to think about it. And I really have been forcing myself to think about other things, such as Susan had talked about it, like safety precautions that you do as a person when you're by yourself. And one of the things I like to do is I like to run, and I can't do it at certain times. Like right now, I wouldn't go run because I'd be too scared. And I live right by the highway, and I'd be too scared to run. And so it doesn't take me much to get to the highway from my house if I was to go onto foot, and I would be too scared to do that. And in the early morning, when it's dark, a lot of people will run, but I'm too scared to do that too. And so I think about, they call that male toxicity. And those type of things, you know, I start thinking about those. Not that I haven't already thought about it, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of bravery to be able to, you know, be alone as a Native woman or as a Native person in general. You know, there's times when you get fearful, but those things have definitely inspired me. Since this time, I can't stop thinking of things that I would create to bring that type of awareness, or wanting to do something more to like sort of along the lines what Della does, is to like donate, you know, to find a way to help somebody, you know, because I can't imagine something being closer to what it is now, to just the distant relatives that I have that have been victims of this. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Salisha.
Susan, did you want to add to that?
Okay, we do have another question. Did all of the artists help curate the exhibition? And what was it like to collaborate and curate together? So I can answer just a short little part of that. So we did work with the 5 women initially that were listed in the slide. And then it was an invitational. So the other women called on each other to also submit to the show. So if anyone wants to add to that collaboration, that effort, and what that was like, that would be great.
We wanted to make sure we had an artist for every reservation in the state of Montana. Some people weren't able to, but I'm really glad that we were able to get on Salisha and Wozek and even Cedar to help us out and make this exhibit beautiful with their work. I actually enjoyed spending this time with the other ladies, planning this all out and how we wanted to do this, and it turned out really nice.
Anyone else want to speak to that question?
I will. I've never curated anything before, and again, I kind of ran out of time on my time, but I didn't get to say thank you to everyone for our sponsors and the Emerson staff and my fellow artists and curators, but it was a really interesting experience. Oftentimes we're getting our art ready and we're just trying to get it, for me, to the fashion show or to another exhibit, and we don't see all of the work that goes on behind the scenes. And I mean, so many months, but I loved it. It was amazing to learn that. And then it was just amazing to spend more time with like Susan. I've known Susan for years, but I haven't spent that much time around her. And I just felt like I had this like awesome artist guru auntie right there to answer questions. And Susan and Alyssa were so conscious of making sure that they were making a welcoming space for all of us. It was a really beautiful experience. I really appreciated it.
Thank you, Carie. All right.
Just to chime in there, I tell everybody that I have the best job in Bozeman. It's not the easiest job, but it's the best job. And this is an absolute highlight. This is truly a treat. So thank you.
All
I just
right.
wanted to add quickly, it's been really important to be able to have this platform to raise awareness, along with showcasing all the artists, because in the pandemic we haven't been able to gather to protest. For the past year, since February is the last time we were able to gather together and protest. We haven't been able to do that. And I think it's also just being able to do that in a different way, and also like a more creative way, a more, I guess, more constructive form of still calling attention to the issue, but being able to include more people.
Thank you, guys. Nayana, would you like to add something as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly thank everybody for including me, because I'm kind of the odd woman out. I'm the only one. I've actually never set foot in Montana. So my art has now, but I have not. I live in Massachusetts, and it was a total fluke to even receive notification and invitation to be involved. So I'm really grateful for that and for the opportunity and to hear everyone's stories. And I'm hoping that some of you might want to participate in my project as well. So thank you so much for including me. And kind of, I feel like including me also showed that it is a huge issue in Montana, but it's also an issue everywhere. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Nayana.
I wanted to say thanks to Dan too, because he's the one that put me on this whole thing in the very beginning, and the social distance powwow. I wanted to say thanks to them and all their effort, and how how this all kind of started way back then. And I'm really amazed that we did it. We all have to high five each other. Thank you.
It's a virtual high five. What I learned in a Zoom, in a corny Zoom the other day, is that if everybody puts their hands out like this, is that you kind of like high five the people on the side of you. And it so does this little virtual connection. You got to go wider, Della. Go wide, go wide, go wide, Della. There you go. Rose, you too. And so it's kind of cool. This pandemic has been a real stinker. The only thing that we have been able to do is to have a super kick-ass opening. And I can't imagine having all of you in the same space and being able to celebrate your work and raise your voices collectively. So we'll make a plan to gather again when it's safe for us to gather and convene and share your stories and your work soon. It's right at 7:30, so to be respectful of everybody's time, I want to say thank you. I hope that you can join us next week for the panel discussion, where we'll go into some activism that's happening with MMIP and steps that folks can take. It's next February, it's next Thursday, February 11th. You'll need to pre-register via Zoom. And we will record it again. And one of the things that people kept asking out of this is, what do we want to have happen? And other than bringing your work together and raising the collective voice, it's letting people know that there's a possibility to make a difference. And so what I would say to you, to each of us that are traveling or wherever we are in our daily lives, to lift your chin up and make eye contact and look at the women that you're passing and check in with them, whether it's a nod or a smile, and just to ask them if they're okay. And it's not that you intervene in that moment if they're not, but it's that you take note of where you are and where they are, and you can share their information. So hopefully as we go forward collectively, we have the ability to help other women, other people in need, and bring them home. So thank you, everybody. Thanks for being a part of the evening. And we look forward to visiting with you again soon. Take good care, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.